There is something most people rarely say out loud. A mature woman doesn't fall in love with words alone. She has already heard countless compliments, read endless sweet messages, and sat through romantic dinners where a man tried hard to say all the right things. Over time, words lose their impact. What really moves her, what gently unlocks the heart she has carefully guarded for years, is something far more instinctive, and that is touch. But this is not about careless or creepy touching, or the kind people imitate from movies. It's about intentional, meaningful contact that quietly communicates emotions words often fail to express, things like security, confidence, warmth, and desire, without speaking at all. Psychologist Dr. Keltner from the University of California, Berkeley, conducted an intriguing study in which strangers tried to communicate emotions through brief touches on the forearm. They weren't allowed to speak or show facial expressions, only touch. The results were remarkable. Participants could correctly recognize emotions such as gratitude, affection, and sympathy purely through touch with accuracy rates of up to approximately 79%. In other words, touch can sometimes communicate feelings more effectively than language ever could. This explains why some men naturally create a strong emotional connection with women while others seem to struggle, even when they say all the right things. The difference often lies not in what they say, but in how they physically express presence and care. For a mature woman, someone who has experienced enough of life to know what truly matters, these touches can resonate far more deeply than they might for someone younger. Before exploring the 7 specific types of touch, there is something important to mention. 2 of them may appear so simple that you might dismiss them immediately. However, many mature women say those are the very touches that move them the most, even when they can't fully explain why. And the final touch on the list, the 7th one, has such a powerful psychological impact that relationship therapists sometimes recommend it to couples who are struggling or close to separating. I will explain that later. Let's begin with the first touch that changes how she feels about you. The first is what I call the slow lower back guide. It might sound like basic politeness, but there is more science behind it than most people realize. When a man gently places his hand on the small of a woman's back, perhaps guiding her through a doorway, helping her move through a crowd, or standing beside her at an event, he is touching one of the most sensitive areas of the body. The lower back contains a dense network of nerve endings connected to regions of the brain involved in emotional processing. A calm, confident hand resting there can send a signal that bypasses logical thinking entirely. However, the details matter greatly. The speed and pressure of the gesture make all the difference. A quick pat feels casual and impersonal, almost like a relative's friendly gesture. A forceful push can feel controlling. But a slow, gentle placement of the palm, warm and deliberate, communicates something entirely different. Psychologists describe this reaction as a protective bonding response. Her nervous system interprets the gesture as safety. In response, the brain releases oxytocin, the hormone associated with bonding and trust. Gradually, she begins to associate your presence with calmness and comfort. This can be especially meaningful for a mature woman because she has often spent years being strong and independent. She has managed responsibilities on her own and learned to protect herself. When a man gently places his hand on her lower back with quiet confidence, it isn't about control, it's about communication. The gesture conveys, you don't have to carry everything by yourself in this moment. For a woman who has been holding up her world alone, that small act can feel more meaningful than extravagant romantic gestures. I once read a comment from a woman in her late 40s who described a moment like this. She said that when a man lightly placed his hand on her back while they walked into a restaurant, she suddenly felt something she hadn't experienced in years. She felt chosen. And that is the quiet power of this simple touch when it is done with genuine intention. The second type of touch is the two-handed handhold, and it is surprisingly underrated. Holding hands on its own is common, almost anyone does it, even teenagers walking around a mall. Instead of simply holding her hand, you take it and gently cover it with your other hand, enclosing hers between both of yours. It might happen during a meaningful conversation, a quiet pause, or right after she has shared something personal. This touch is powerful because of a psychological effect known as bilateral stimulation. When both of your hands are involved in holding hers, it creates balanced sensory input that the brain interprets as deep attention and emotional presence. In fact, therapists use similar bilateral touch techniques in EMDR therapy to help people work through emotional trauma. So when you cradle her hand with both of yours, you are essentially sending a signal to her mind that says, "You are safe, and I'm fully here with you." For a mature woman, that feeling can be incredibly impactful. Many women have spent years with partners who were physically around but mentally distant. Their bodies sat at the table, but their attention was on their phones, their jobs, or something else completely. When you hold her hand with both of yours and truly focus on her while she speaks, you offer something she may have stopped expecting: complete, undivided attention. Sometimes, it is the contrast that makes the touching so powerful. After experiencing years of lukewarm affection, feeling both of your hands wrapped around hers with genuine warmth and intention can make her realize that you are not like the others. And once she begins to see you as different, it becomes difficult for anyone else to compete with that impression. The third touch often surprises women the most: the forehead touch. This is not a forehead kiss, though that is related. Instead, it is the simple act of gently resting your forehead against hers. Your foreheads meet, your eyes close naturally, your breathing slows, and the outside world seems to fade away. Although the gesture seems simple, its emotional impact can be profound. Dr. Sue Johnson, the founder of emotionally focused therapy and a highly respected relationship researcher, has written extensively about what she calls bonding moments. These are small interactions that activate the attachment system in adults, much like a parent's touch comforts an infant. The forehead touch is one of the most powerful bonding moments two adults can experience. It works because it requires vulnerability from both people. You cannot do it from a distance. You have to move close, slow down, and allow your guard to drop. For a mature woman who may have built strong emotional boundaries after years of life experience, this gentle gesture can feel like a quiet knock on a door she had almost forgotten existed. It does not demand anything or push things further. It simply communicates, "I'm here with you, and this moment matters." A man who can share this moment without rushing it, without turning it into something else, and without breaking the silence just because the intimacy feels uncomfortable demonstrates a level of emotional intelligence many people never show, even in long relationships. The fourth touch is so effective that it almost feels like revealing a secret: the back of the neck touch. The nape of the neck is one of the most sensitive areas of the body. It contains many nerve endings, and because it is a spot people cannot easily see or defend, contact there can create a powerful mix of sensations, both trust and excitement at the same time. That combination is uncommon, as most touches usually trigger one feeling or the other. When a man gently places his hand or fingers on the back of a woman's neck, perhaps while sitting beside her or leaning in to speak, her mind quickly evaluates the moment. Am I comfortable? Do I trust this person? Does this feel right? If the answer to those questions is yes, the emotional response can be immediate. Her breathing may change, her pupils may widen, and her body releases chemicals like dopamine and oxytocin, which are closely tied to romantic bonding. Experience also plays a role here. A younger woman might not fully recognize what this gesture communicates, but a mature woman often does. To her, it signals confidence without aggression, attraction without desperation, and closeness without presumption. It is a subtle yet refined gesture, and women who notice it tend to appreciate the awareness behind it. That said, timing is essential. This is not the kind of touch you use with someone you have just met. Without trust, it can feel inappropriate rather than meaningful. Its power comes from the fact that it follows an existing connection. It is part of a natural progression, not a shortcut, and a mature woman can quickly sense the difference. Touch number 5, the one mentioned earlier that almost feels unfair, is called the thumb stroke. To understand why it is so powerful, it helps to look at the psychology behind it. The thumb stroke usually happens when you are already touching her in some way, perhaps holding her hand or resting your hand on her arm, shoulder, or knee. Without making a big deal out of it, your thumb slowly moves across her skin in small, gentle, rhythmic motions. You do not point it out or look down at what you are doing. You simply continue the conversation as if nothing unusual is happening. What makes this simple touch so effective lies in human biology. The skin contains specialized nerve fibers known as C-tactile afferents, which respond especially strongly to slow, soft stroking. These nerves are connected to brain areas that process emotional connection and social bonding. Research from the University of Gothenburg in Sweden found that this kind of gentle stroking activates the insular cortex, a part of the brain associated with intimacy and emotional closeness. In practical terms, this means that when your thumb moves slowly over her skin, it stimulates brain regions that naturally create a sense of warmth and connection. Because the gesture is subtle, she may not consciously focus on it. Yet her brain still registers the sensation, and her body responds. Emotionally, she can begin to feel a deeper pull toward you without fully realizing why. This is why the gesture can feel almost unfair. A mature woman, especially one who has experienced relationships where affection felt forced or absent, may notice that small, absent-minded movement and think, "He is not trying to impress me. This is simply how he is." That impression, that your tenderness feels natural rather than calculated, can be far more meaningful than dramatic displays of affection or expensive gifts. Sometimes it is the quiet, unconscious gesture, like a slow movement of the thumb during an ordinary conversation, that communicates the most genuine warmth. The sixth touch is what could be called the silent pull. This happens when you are sitting or standing beside her and without saying anything, you gently draw her closer. Perhaps you place your arm around her shoulders or rest a hand at her waist and close the distance between you. There is no verbal hint, just a simple motion that brings the two of you closer. Psychologically, this relates to what attachment researchers call proximity seeking. In attachment theory, people who feel securely connected often have a natural instinct to reduce physical distance with someone they care about. Pulling her closer without asking quietly communicates, through action, that you wanted her close. For many mature women, this touch carries real emotional weight. Many have spent years feeling as though closeness had to be earned, by being attractive enough, agreeable enough, or accommodating enough to deserve affection. Some have experienced relationships where physical closeness only appeared when the other person wanted something in return. When a man gently pulls a woman closer simply because he wants her near, not to start anything or to impress anyone, it can quietly change the way she sees herself in that moment. It shows her that she is valued not for what she does or what she gives, but simply for being there beside him. Her presence alone is enough. And if that does not seem powerful, you may never have seen a strong, independent woman soften as she leans into a man who casually drew her closer during something as ordinary as watching a movie. Now we come to the seventh and final kind of touch, saved for last because it carries the greatest emotional impact of them all, the long-hold hug. This is not a quick squeeze or a casual, half-hearted hug. It is not the kind of brief hug people give out of politeness. Instead, it is a full embrace, both arms wrapped around each other, chest to chest, that lasts at least 20 seconds. That specific length of time matters. Studies published in Psychoneuroendocrinology show that hugs lasting 20 seconds or longer stimulate the release of oxytocin while also lowering cortisol, the hormone associated with stress. In other words, a long hug does more than feel comforting. It actually helps the body relax. Heart rate slows, blood pressure decreases, and the nervous system moves from a tense fight-or-flight state into a calmer mode where connection and emotional openness become easier. This is one reason relationship therapists often encourage couples to hold each other for extended periods. After decades of research on relationships, Dr. John Gottman has pointed to prolonged physical contact as a powerful way to rebuild emotional trust between partners. It is not just a symbolic gesture, it has real psychological and physiological benefits. For a mature woman, this kind of touch can carry even deeper meaning. By the time many women reach their 40s or 50s, they may have experienced heartbreak, disappointment, or loneliness they rarely speak about. Over the years, they learn to stay strong and self-reliant, often becoming their own source of support. So when someone holds her in a genuine, unhurried embrace, one that quietly communicates, "I'm here, and I'm not rushing away," something inside her can soften. The protective walls she built over time begin to ease. It is not because she is fragile. It is because, in that moment, she finally feels safe enough to stop carrying everything on her own. That is the real power of touch. It is not about impressing someone or creating excitement. Sometimes its greatest impact is simply offering relief, the rare chance for someone to let their guard down and rest. And when a woman feels that kind of comfort and safety with someone, her feelings are not accidental. She chooses that person consciously, again and again, with the parts of her heart she has guarded carefully for years.